All right, folks. I will now turn this over to Steve Hayes, who is just an amazing member of our community, and we are certainly honored to have him with us tonight.
Thanks, Scott. I'm humbled to be here. Um, this is really designed to be similar to a fireside chat. The fireplaces are going, but really just being very informal. So nothing prepared. Just give you a little background history. Been blessed to be married to my wife 39 years. We met in college on a church retreat our junior year, and I was studying human resources. We graduated and I went right to work in the field of human resources. We proceeded to move 9 times in the next 15 years, following my HR career, and 5 children along the way. So the first company was Amoco, which is an oil and gas base. Moved 3 times with them, Houston, New Orleans, Houston. Then went to Frito-Lay division of PepsiCo. Three moves with them, New York, Orlando, Birmingham. So those two companies, 6 moves in 10 years. Somewhat of a gypsy life. Our seventh move was to Nashville. We came here with what was a company called Magnatech. It was a public traded company that was going through a major turnaround. Was part of that turnaround team. The stock was depressed at $7, and within a couple of years it went up to 24. So it was an aggressive turnaround. We loved living here. Um, and then I got recruited to Atlanta to be the head of HR of Russell Athletic, an apparel company. Some of you might be too young to remember that brand. And it was that move, number 8, which made us leave Brentwood, Nashville area, that helped us realize that of all the places we lived, no place was better to raise our kids than here. So after being in Atlanta for a little over a year, through a lot of prayer, we felt compelled to come back to this area. So I went into my CEO and resigned, and he tried to talk me out of it, which I didn't expect. On the impact, the real kind of faith basis for my family, my kids, the stability that we wanted to have. Finally got his support, which is important to me. And he's the one that said, why don't you go get your family settled, start a business, and I'll be your first client. And through God's grace, that's what birthed in December of 2000, the Human Capital Group, which was our retained executive search and leadership consulting. So I wanted to transition from an HR role in the corporate setting into providing a service of helping companies find talent. We only did retained, so it's typically vice president level and above, and we did it around the world. Fast forward 20 years, and about 1,200 executive searches later, we were approached by a Fortune 500 company that wanted to buy our firm. They heard about us from their customers, which were our customers, and only God could have parted the Red Sea like that, because you see a bunch of scriptures on that Words of Hope document. Well, our mission statement was defined by Scripture, and our guiding principles were defined by Scripture. So the fact that a Fortune 500 publicly traded company was attracted to our firm was only God could have orchestrated that. Through a lot of prayer and discernment with my inner circle of people I trust, we felt that's what God was calling us to do. I agreed to stay on for 3 additional years and to help with the transition. A year and a half into that transition, let me back up. One of the main reasons why I was so attracted to this company buying us was we had about 20 people on our team, and it was heavily dependent on me. And if something happened to me, or I got sick, or all of them would have been at risk in some capacity. Now going to be part of a 40,000 employee company with tons of career opportunities for them, and I'm not worried about payroll every week. And it was just a gift in many respects. And everybody on my team had equity in the firm, So they were all blessed financially from the sale. And all but one went with the company that bought us. So again, I agreed to stay for 3 years. A year and a half into that, I should have died. My widowmaker was 99% blocked. I should have made a widow. I was given a second chance at surgery, and but that was a wake-up call for my wife and I that I've been going hard since I was 14, and it was time to downshift, for lack of a better analogy. It's kind of like 15 on the interstate, going hard. And so I went to the company that bought us and said, hey, I'm going to honor my 3 years, but I need to get off the interstate onto a rural country road and go at a slower pace. And they were totally supportive of that, which we did. And this was during COVID, for whatever that's worth. So a lot of things were, I know, unpredictable for everybody. Then after the 3 years, I downshifted even further and pulled away completely, just acting as an advisor and a referral partner. So I really haven't been leading searches like I was doing day in and day out for the last 3 years. And then last year, the company that bought us, after holding us for 5 years, sold us to another executive search firm. And our whole team now is with that firm. And I'm an advisor to that firm, referring business. When a customer calls me about a search, I won't do it myself, I'll refer it to the team. And that allowed me to start a side business called Serve and Love. ServeandLove.com is our website. And it's based on Galatians 5:13. It's an executive coaching a model to help develop servant leaders as they hopefully are trying to follow Christ as their example of the best leader. So I have a couple dozen clients that I do consulting with, but it's very much a semi-retirement. There's no retirement mentioned in the Bible, and I don't sit well, and I don't fish or golf, so I need something not to drive my wife crazy. So this gives me something to do along with, I serve on 6 boards, and between the boards and the clients I coach, it's a nice kind of happy medium. So that's a high-level summary. I forgot to mention we're blessed with 8 grandchildren, and yeah, we love living here. And I've met with many hundreds and hundreds of people throughout my career who are in transition. I myself was in transition before we started the company because I knew I needed to move back here. I know what that's like. So my hope tonight is just to be a resource and to answer any questions you have, and share with you, I will call it wisdom, experience, probably the best word to use, that I've learned along the way. And as I've watched other people in transition, what works and what doesn't work. So I'll pause now and see what questions that intro prompts, and just open up for questions in general.
Steve, what do you recommend if someone is interested in changing industries?
Well, first, if you're going to change industry, you have to realize that you're likely not going to command the same compensation you were making in the previous industry because you're kind of starting at a new level. Secondly, the most likely way that you're going to find a new opportunity outside of where you've been is to piggyback on what Scott mentioned earlier, is through your network. So, for example, an executive recruiter like myself, although retired, likely wouldn't present you to a client who would take them to find a needle in the haystack, unless you have that experience that we've been retained by. So we probably wouldn't put someone in front of a client who's aspiring for that job. It needs to be somebody who's already proven they can do that job. Otherwise, why would a company pay us a pretty significant fee to go find them? So that's why I further reinforce that networking is the way to find it. And there's 5 verticals. This is for networking in general. 5 verticals that if you're not intentionally penetrating, you're missing out. The first vertical would be your neighbors, okay, people that you live close by. We often don't think about our neighbors as possible networking sources, but you live in the same community, you have that in common. All 5 of these things are somebody you have something in common. Because by having something in common with them, it turns a cold call into a warm call, which greatly changes the likelihood of a positive outcome. So again, neighbors. Secondly, your church, your faith community. And that's a perfect place to network, even if you don't know each other. But to come to groups like this, go to Bible studies, just at the end of your church services, strike up a conversation over coffee with somebody and find out what they do and let them know you're in transition. Unfortunately, a lot of times when we're in transition, we want to curl up and just go be in the closet. Right? And that's likely because our pride is hurt. Well, that's not of God. That's of the enemy. The enemy wants to shut you down and make you think there's shame and embarrassment, and that's not of God. So when you start feeling those things, which are human, you got to rebuke them and really call on the voice of God to remind you that you're precious in His eyes and He's got a plan for you and there's hope for you. So how you are thinking will determine how you interact. And that will be either contagious or infectious of the opposite desire, right? So anyway, neighbors, church members, because you have Christ in common, you have your faith in common. And most people aren't going to come up to you on Sunday after church and say, "Hey, Luke, do you need a job?" They're not going to just do that because number one, that's crossing a line that they don't know. Would that be insulting to you? You guys, well, of course I don't need a job, right? So we've got to break that ice. We've got to knock on their door, so to speak, and say, "Hey, I am looking for another opportunity. Can we meet for coffee for 20 minutes and let me pick your brain on maybe other things at your place of employment, and if not, the people you know that I can." So again, neighbors, church members, another past colleagues, so past bosses, past peers, past subordinates, past customers, all of those people you have a relationship with. Again, it's turning a cold call into a warm call because you have something in common. And even if you haven't stayed in touch with past colleagues, get on LinkedIn, find them, reach out. There's no, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So plant seeds with people and knock on doors. The fourth vertical is if you have children, those children often have friends who have parents who are working somewhere, or a spouse, or a significant other who's working somewhere else. Their colleagues can be a source of networking. Again, it's turning a cold call into a warm call. And then the last vertical, which a lot of people forget, is your alumni. Wherever you went to school, you can go on LinkedIn and do a search of who graduated from the school I went to. Doesn't matter what year they graduated, what year you graduated. You have something in common. So when you see a job posted that you're interested in, don't just hit the send button and expect the fairy dust to fall. Instead, go do some research, find somebody you have some connection with in that company, reach out to them, send them the link of the job you're interested in, ask them if they'd help network you in. All they can do is say no, right? But if you don't knock, they will be able to say yes. So I'll share something with you. When we started the business in 2000, I've been in corporate America my whole life, and the thought of selling just made me squeam. But I had to have 5 kids to feed. I had to go and sell the service of executive search and start this business from nothing. But I found myself procrastinating and putting off networking. And finally, through grace, realized that it was my pride that was preventing me from networking. Because I was afraid of rejection. And I didn't want to experience rejection, so I just wouldn't put myself out there and network. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And that revelation was a gift when someone shared with me a scripture verse that was a game changer. And it's Revelation 3:20. And it's Jesus standing at the door of your heart and mine, and he's knocking. In humility, because he has something of a great value to offer me. And he knows that I have the freedom to either open the door or sit on the couch and eat popcorn and totally ignore him. But because he has something of great value, in humility, our Lord within the kings is knocking on each one of our hearts, hoping that we choose to open that door. So friends shared that verse with me and opened my eyes to the fact that if Jesus can do that for me, by God, I can go now. I can control knocking. I can't control if the other person opens the door. But they sure won't open it if I'm not knocking. So that if Jesus role models for me the humble, vulnerable approach of networking and knocking. And that helped me realize when doors didn't open, my old self would have taken that as rejection and I would have spiraled down. What's wrong with me? And I suck and nobody wants me, and the self-defeating mindset. When this verse came to life for me, it was like, no, that is not rejection, but God's protection. It even rhymes. It's a short little sentence. When the door closes, it's not rejection, but God's protection. That was the flip for me. And if the door didn't open, God was protecting me from something that wasn't good. And I get to go knock on the next door. I get to. I don't got to. I get to. Till he opens the right door for me. So network is 90% of jobs at y'all's level are filled by networking, not by internet. Only 1 in 10 jobs, statistically speaking, Wall Street Journal will back this up. 1 in 10 jobs are filled by applying online. So if you're spending the bulk of your time sitting behind the computer, which the enemy loves to suck us into that, because we get the false confidence that I'm making progress. But I'm actually buying a lottery ticket. Really what you're doing. We're gambling with time. So my strong suggestion to anybody in transition is you gotta flip that. Instead of spending 90% of the time behind the computer, you only want to spend 10% of your time looking at online postings. Do it early in the morning and late at night. The daytime is your productive time for your knock. You do network. And you need to use your computer to set up meetings, to schedule meetings, to find people you want to go knock on. That's okay. But don't get stuck applying to jobs all the time. And when you do apply, you can't just hit send and expect the confetti to fall. You've got to do some Sherlock Holmes and find somebody in that company or in your network who has a connection there who can help elevate your resume, elevate to be seen. Because on average, the company gets 1,400 resumes per posting. What are the odds that yours, Michael, is going to be elevated to the top? It's computers now reading those resumes. So you need a human touch to help open the door and to go to the hiring manager and say, you need to meet this guy, this gal. The other thing that I've learned is a lot of people are relying on AI generated resumes. And I would strongly discourage that. You can use AI to help you, but you need to make it your format, your personality. I can see an AI generated resume from a mile away. And my customers can too. And they get trashed. Common AI resume is a white sheet of paper with blue columns left justified, blue headings left justified, and basic text. So if that's what you're using to market yourself, I would encourage you not to rely on that. Because your resume is really like your ticket into the movie, or to the show or whatever, the event. It's an important piece. And then when you're networking, any networking you do, whether it's an email or contact, always attach your resume. Because someone might see it and say, I'm going to forward it to this person who I think might be interested in your background. So you're missing an opportunity for someone to market if you don't attach your resume. The other thing I would say about resumes is wherever possible, be as quantifiable and results oriented as possible. Metrics, numbers, percent, quantifiable. When I see resumes delivered, which I'm doing, we're getting paid $100,000 to $200,000 to find an executive for somebody. Well, my client needs to know that they're getting their money's worth, right? If I see a resume that doesn't have quantifiables, I come to one of two conclusions, neither of which are good. The first is this person doesn't measure results. And the second is they didn't get you what they were willing to share. So go through your past performance reviews, go through past presentations you've made, look for quantifiable data. If your bullets have quantifiables, it just gives you a loft ball to hit a home run in the interview. Because you can talk about how did I get that result? How did my team get it? What was my role in it? If you don't have results on there, it's kind of like it's just verbiage, or some would say fluff. That's not going to help you. Okay, I've been rambling.
No, this is great.
Stop and do what questions promptly here.
Questions? You got the level.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned, I think it was 1 in 10 positions are filled through resume applying. So what is the typical return on investment in network? So if I reach out to 10, let's say the 5 verticals that you mentioned, I reach out to a neighbor, I reach out to someone at my church, I reach out to, friends, children's networks, whatever. How many of those would you say would turn into an actionable lead in some?
I don't have statistical facts because everyone's different. Your network's different than my network, than Michael's network, than your network, and how you work it is different. But what I can guarantee you is the more you work that network, the more opportunities you're going to have. Because it's going to spread. If you tell Michael you're looking for a job and he realizes he met with you for maybe 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes and got to know you, your hope is you're not going to leave that meeting without saying, hey, I know 2 or 3 people in your network you could introduce. And because he introduced you, when you reach out to them, say, Michael introduced me to you, they're then more than likely going to meet with you if for no other reason they don't want to disrespect Michael. Okay, so it's all connecting dots here. But I can't guarantee if you have 30 meetings, you're going to get a job. What I can guarantee you is if you just sit behind a computer, you likely won't get the job you're hoping for anytime soon. Likely. I could be wrong. You could be the 1 in 10, right? you could be that 10%. But statistically speaking, the kids right out of college are more than likely they might be 60% online. Those who've been out for a while and have some history and very professional environment, much more successful.
Question. Today's Monday. I've got an interview on Thursday. How would you suggest I prepare for that interview?
Well, you want to get educated on the company, make sure you understand the job you're interviewing for. But you also want to be careful not to over prepare. I've seen a lot of people prepare so hard that they are so rigid and they bomb. Because they so badly want this job, right? And look, you come out looking desperate, almost, because you're trying so hard. Most interviews they want to know what you've done in the past, and they want to get to know you as a person. So learn about the job. Not learning about the company is a kiss of death, because if you didn't do any preparation, you can't talk about what they stand for, their purpose, their product. Why are you interested? Then you probably will reconsider seriously. But you don't want to over prepare either. And I would suggest that I've coached many people before they go to an interview that your objective is to make sure that you share as much information as possible to help the interviewer decide to take you to the next step. So if you get asked one question and you ramble for 20 minutes, avoid to hurt yourself. So answer the question as succinctly as you can, and then ask the interviewer, would you like me to go in greater detail? And if they do, they'll ask you to. If not, we move on to the next question, because you want their needs to be met. If they throw a question to you at the very beginning of, hey, what questions do you have for me? I would suggest you throw it back and say, thank you. I know that there'll be time for me to ask questions. Right now, my main goal is to fill you with information so you can learn about me. What kind of answer could you? So I don't know if that answered your question, Scott. I went all over a little bit, but
Oh, yeah.
don't over prepare.
That's okay.
Scott, there's Zoom.
Yeah, go ahead and let her in.
Wow.
Any other questions? You folks online have a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. First of all, I want to say, Scott, thank you for your questions because those were super helpful. And Steve, your answers were very encouraging. I have a question about, do you have any advice on how to work on your nerves for interviews? Because I recently actually had an interview and it was via video only, and it was not like speaking with anybody. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I just got extra nervous over that. I guess because I've never done that before. But I was just kind of wondering if you had any advice for that.
You know, what was the question about a video?
Was that, Bree, was that just generally how to combat nerves? Was that your
Yes.
question, Bree? Okay.
Yeah.
My advice on that is to surrender the outcome to God, and to realize that His will is the best thing for me. And if I don't get this job, He's using it to prepare me for the next interview. So I obviously, God wants to hear our prayers, and we want to be honest about our prayers if we really want this job. But if we can end our prayer with, Father, not my will, your will be done, then you're really giving Him the freedom and trusting the outcome to Him. So you win no matter what.
Yeah.
You don't get the job or you don't do well in the interview. Back to that phrase, it's not rejection, but God's protection. He's protecting me from something I can't see. Maybe this culture would be really bad. Maybe it would put a temptation on path that would hurt my marriage. Maybe it would challenge my integrity. I don't know, but I trust that God's protecting me from something. And that would then calm me down, Bree, is just realizing, okay, I'm not in control, thankfully, because I'll screw it up if I'm in control.
Yeah.
Looking at God's in control and not me, I'm going to do my best and trust that all things work for the good, even if I don't like the outcome.
Yeah.
The enemy doesn't want us to have peace. The enemy doesn't want us to trust. The enemy wants us to live in fear and shame and embarrassment. And only we, through God's grace, can we fight that. And it's a choice to accept his promises and to accept that I'm not alone, that he has a plan for me and he's with me, and he'll provide for me and my family. So it's putting those things in perspective, Bree, and then therefore, hopefully, not getting so anxious about something I can't control.
Yeah. Thank you. And I really love that. Not rejection, but God's protection. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Would you say that when
Hang on.
would you say that when someone loses a job, that that's also
Most definitely.
part of the plan?
Most definitely. I mean, I know it's hard for us to understand that, and to me, God is not a punitive, vindictive, punishing God. He is a God of mercy. Look at the Old Testament, the New Testament. Wherever I see the word judgment, it's mercy. His judgment is always mercy. Look at Jesus on the cross after I put him there. For him to say, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of scripture references of his mercy. So my view is, think of the parable of the disciples that were in the boat. The storm was kind of swirling around. Jesus comes walking on the water. They're scared. They think he's a ghost. Peter says, wait, I think that's Jesus. And he says, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you. And Jesus says, come. What I used to always remember about the parable was Peter started to sink because he took his eyes off Jesus. He got afraid, right? But what a friend helped me realize is he had the courage to jump out of the boat. So this boat that had holes in it and was sinking slowly had this false sense of security. So he jumped into the ocean of uncertainty. Right? So if you lose your job or you choose to leave a job, that's like Peter jumping out of the boat. And the first thing we're going to do is keep our eyes on him. Otherwise, we'll be surrounded by the waves and what kind of fish are underneath me and all those fears. But I do believe that when someone loses their job, although it sucks in the moment and it creates all kind of uncertainty, hopefully it draws them to their knees to surrender and ask for God's help and guidance. It draws them closer to him. So therefore, they're better off because their faith is strengthening through that storm. And there's a great verse in Isaiah. It's Isaiah 45:3. I wish I knew this years ago. This is little Jim. It's God speaking, and he says, I will give you. So he's giving us something, right? I will give you, Michael, treasures in darkness. I will give you treasures in darkness. What a paradox. So losing a job can be seen as darkness. And I'm afraid that I can't see where I'm going next. I can't see what my next role is going to be, right? But that's a promise that treasures are coming from that darkness in full surrender. And that's the Old Testament version of Romans 8:28, which is all things. And all is an emphatic word. All things work for the good. I usually add a Steveism at the end of that scripture, which is definitely not scripture. But all things work together for good, dot, 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 even when they suck. And I'm starting to use that word suck. I've been trying to find a better, cleaner word, but it's emphatic. There are things in life that really suck. We don't like. God works for good, we just don't see it in the moment.
I'm curious, I am a recruiter, been doing it for quite a few years now, and since I lost my job, I've been on different social media, LinkedIn, different things, and there seems to be such a disconnect between the recruiting and HR. But the platform that we used to get the applications and things like that, I am the AI.
Yeah.
I was the AI.
Sure.
Yeah, we were not screening out keywords. None of that. I was
recruiting role?
looking. We did foster care adoption. I did foster care adoption, mental health. So I was literally looking at every application, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying that there seems to be a mass exodus from LinkedIn, but then you're also then told, no, you've got to have LinkedIn. I'm seeing people that. And then, LinkedIn is really in the job boards, the Indeeds and things like that. You're talking about the AI earlier. And like I said, we didn't have AI. I think there were some options that could have been added to it. But again, it was me and the person that helped me. We're looking, and one thing that I would notice, and for somebody else, I'm assuming everybody's out of college by now, but is a lot of people just also then would apply to jobs, and you could tell maybe they were trying to hit their unemployment quota for the week or whatnot. But sometimes too, and I tell people, hey, make sure that you fit that, if I'm hiring a therapist, you have to have a master's in therapy. It doesn't matter how great you are and the networking, all that,
That's why there's 1,400 applicants per job, because there's a lot of people, no business applying for them.
Yeah. And our company's smaller. I didn't have to deal with that kind of number. I used to work for Vanderbilt, though. And when I was at Vanderbilt, I would do an admin, and I could have in 5 days 300 applicants. So then it's how do you try to look at all those and what eyes on it. So there's a lot of information out there, and you really have to. It can overload you. But because I've done this for a while, and I love recruiting, and it is interesting to see that I've deleted LinkedIn, it's the best thing I've ever done, and others, still you've got those connections on there. So I will, it's really interesting.
I wouldn't delete LinkedIn.
And then the chat and all these people send your resume and let it do this, and then others like, no. Mine is not through Chat GPT or there's about 3 or 4 others right now. So there's so much information. So I think people have to, and what you're saying tonight is so great, because it's really, you have to really separate. There's so much noise out there. So for everybody that's, that we're all looking out soon, whatever, you've really got to kind of zero in and not let, because there is just so much that your head can just go back and forth if you let it.
Yeah, for what Steve said, don't delete your LinkedIn. The usage of LinkedIn could be changing, which is what you're hearing. But in the job search world, anybody who's considering you is going straight to your LinkedIn profile. And it needs to be strong. Right.
Does it jive? Are you being consistent?
Yeah.
What kind of photo you have, and then also if your photo's not current, make it current.
Right.
There's nothing worse than having a 10-year-old photo and then you show up in the interview like, it's not the same person. So what else are they not telling me?
Right.
The funny thing about that was my first recruiting job. I took a job out of college. I went to operate in a hotel and did front desk and all those kind of things. And I fell into HR, literally.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Monday through Friday. There's not many in the hotel. And I was like, well, I was basically, I guess, a generalist. And then they said, hey, we'd like for you to go out. We were doing walk-ins on Mondays back then, right before and do those ads, and they would just get crushed out to put up where they were doing the screenings. And because it was a theme park next door, people came in with their resume. So I kind of sort of was trained. I don't need to see your photo. I just need to see what you can do. So I remember being at Sherm several years ago in the TV show The Office. And when I guess LinkedIn stuff is really starting to first really pick up speed, and the guy that was the legal advisor for LinkedIn is the speaker or for the show The Office. And he said, I think there's going to be challenges because people are going to pull up that profile and they're going to look at Steve's photo and go, I like him or I don't like him. And so again, that's another one of those.
Guess what?
Yeah.
I want to learn that as soon as possible, because I don't want to waste time with you if you're not gonna be interested.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, quite frankly, if a door closes quickly, that's good news.
Good news.
I'm gonna go knock on another door.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if ever you're concerned about age being a roadblock, I'm 61. I mean, I always tell people who are over 40 and they're thinking, oh, I'm gonna be discriminated against. My comment is, you know what, you can't control that.
Right.
If it happens, then praise God, you don't want to work that company. If they don't see value in you, whatever stage of life you're in, you have nothing to be ashamed of at the stage of life you're in.
And that goes for a race and everything
Everything,
else that
everything.
that you can pick up.
If the door closes, it's not rejection. It's protection. Any questions, Tanya?
Well, my situation is kind of new. My situation is new. I'm apprehensive about asking you for advice, but I could use some guidance.
So your situation is nuanced, is
It's
that?
very nuanced.
Well, come on.
A very new one.
Give it a try.
So I am going through a divorce right now,
Okay.
and I opened a business with my husband. It's in his name. So legally, in the paperwork, it's all his name. The initial investment was minimal compared to where it's at today. It's a couple $100,000, and now it's like a couple of million. Because of the divorce, he said, thank you for all your help. Bye. And so because of litigation, I cannot look for a job. So
I don't understand why you can't let Ron John Key.
I cannot look for a job right now.
I think they're getting divorced, and I believe
So my attorney advised me against.
Oh, because you'll get a greater settlement from him if you can't produce money. Okay, I understand that.
So right now,
So your attorney advised us, not that you legally can't, it's just that it's a legal
Right.
strategy. Okay, I understand.
so I'm in between places where abruptly I was separated from the job. I'm still on payroll, I'm still getting paid.
Well, that's good thing.
But I feel that I'm just kind of wasting away because I'm like you, I don't just fit very
I
well.
understand. Okay,
And
this is good.
so I learned a great deal, Steve, of running a business, running the operations, HR, marketing, all the things, accounting, all the things, and creating culture, which is key to the success of the business, right? And I'm finding myself right now in a situation where I know that the Lord has been so gracious to me that He opened up that door for that beautiful opportunity for me to learn how to run a team, how to build this business, learn about cash flow and all the things that are required, right? So how to be a great operator, but also how to make sure that this is a profitable business. So I'm in a strange position because I was positioned in the industry as an owner by my husband. And I have this great title. And then whenever he found the younger version of me, I no longer have a place in his life, right? And I don't want to get personal about that. That's not what this is about. What this is about is the fact that I feel that I can't join like small business owners networking groups because I'm not an owner, right? So there is this built-in shame or You know, when you talk about the verticals, when I left the company that I was at before, I was like, bye, I love you guys, thank you for the opportunity. I'm gonna go do this great thing with my husband. And I remember vividly, Steve, one guy who was, I always reported to like CEOs and executive team level. And I remember this executive told me, Tatiana, make sure that all your ducks are in a row from a legal perspective with this company. Don't just go and do it. And I didn't, right? Because I trusted love and all the things.
Cool.
So in terms of like things that can be quantified, I have that.
You just can't use it yet.
I can't use it. And the business that we open and that we run it's a known company around town. And I won't mention it for, you know, to protect my privacy. But I can't rely on those employees because they want to maintain their jobs. And so I feel these networking groups that I would love to participate. I love these things. There's always so much that you learn, right? When the right people are in the room, or especially when God is in the room. But how do I show up to a business networking when I'm not a business owner? I've operated like one for the last 6 years. I would love to hear your ideas. And then the other question that I have is, in this new season of life, because I feel like God right now has separated me from everyone, and I can see the intentionality behind it, right? To prepare me and you know, so I'm in that season. And so I'm thinking, well, what do I want to be now?
Sure.
Do I want to explore franchise opportunities, which is what we just had, and what this company continues to be, right? So I understand the dynamics between franchisee and franchise support and royalties and ad funds and all the things, right? So then I'm like, I keep praying every day, Lord, lead me. Do I open up my own thing? How do I stay relevant with the market so I don't become?
So right now, because of the legal advice, I don't know, this is this is a 2-month thing, is it a 6-month thing?
Oh no, could be a year. And the reason for that is there's gonna be business valuations and
Sure, so take a while.
financial discovery and all the things that take a while, forensic accounting, all the things.
Me, how I look at this, I work with you the same way. God is paying you to go serve. So identify a couple of nonprofits that really mean something to you, that have something that would make you smile like you just did, and go volunteer to serve on their boards, or go volunteer just work in their office for free. You're not some job. You're just giving your time because someone else is paying you. And you're gonna make great relationships by doing that. Because a board for a nonprofit is gonna have 15 to 20 people who are in this community. You're gonna get to know them, you're gonna walk alongside them, they're gonna want you when you're ready to help you network. You're not doing it initially to network, but informally it's gonna happen.
I love that because that'll give me the exposure so they can see kind of what can she do.
And it's like God is paying you to be able to go serve and do things that are gonna fill your tank and allow you to take your skills and bless an organization that's doing good. And that's not wasted time. That's purpose, that's meaningful, and it gives you time to prayerfully discern what would God call me to do next. When this cloud is lifted, so I don't know if it's, think of, if you're not sure of what nonprofits, the Center for Nonprofit Management, the website is cnn.org. They have a list of all nonprofits in this area. You could just scour what's their purpose, what they do. Do I want to go with Second Homes Food Bank or Graceworks or Hands for Nashville or YMCA or, oh my gosh, there's so many ways you can go be a light and salt. While someone else is paying you to just wait till this comes out. It's not rejection, but God's protection. He's protecting you from something that long term isn't good. I mean, I don't know if that helps, but
tremendously.
Yeah, and I don't have any great wisdom, but I do see this for you as a season of waiting and preparing.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think back to what you're talking about with nonprofit. I know years ago, there was a hurricane or whatever in Haiti. And I was called on to work with a nonprofit to help them out while they got through that. And so I can be grateful for that experience and look back on that. And when I went back to really full into the job search at that point, people that I was relying on recognized what I've done and accepted that they were fine with it. And so also the other thing I reflect on what you said is that just because you are something now doesn't mean you never were. You still are something, or you are a former whatever it was before. So that is part of what your resume will be in the future, because it's true. And like you said, there may not be a current role, but you have that experience, and that experience is not something anyone can ever take away.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're going to do to build on that.
Yeah.
And so now I think, like I said, it's preparation, using these tools, developing things like your marketing brief, which we'll talk about again soon. It's on the website as well, and your resume, putting those things together so that when the smoke clears, you're ready to lay it down and go to work. And I would love to maybe get you with somebody else in this group that has been through that. Recently, I'm thinking of this person, and they were here not that long ago, and they did a training program, and are repositioning themselves to go back into something they've done. It could be different stories from yours, but somewhat similar circumstances. And now to look at them a year or two later, it's kind of fascinating and inspiring at the same time to see where things have gone and where they're coming to things now. So it's just, you can't see where you're going right now. It's not being that fall, but the road is still there.
And you have a, I hope this comes out the way I need it. You have a spouse who knows Christ. You know, and he won't ever leave you or forsake you. He was with God ever. You know, so there's a mission for you right now, even though there's uncertainty. Cling to what is certain, and that is He will lead you more than you will provide for you. There are plenty of places out there that will be blessed by you investing your time and your talent while this season is passing. And that will be great information in your resume when you're free to go back out. And speak honestly with people when you start networking about them that, hey, I honor the advice I was given during a transition with my previous business partner. And so I poured my heart and soul into X ministry or X nonprofit. And now I'm ready to get back out into the world.
I love that. I didn't know how to frame it for you in a way that I give you enough context for you to understand kind of my background, but also where I'm at today and the unknowns, because I have when I can.
And so cling to what is known.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't try not to be suffocated by the unknown, and celebrate the known.
And you touched on the shame, which is so true, right? So I feel apprehensive to touch on my networks because how do I tell Steve, like, hey, Steve, by the way?
That's the enemy.
And I love that you said that.
He's trying to stop you from serving well.
Yeah.
So you gotta rebuke and tell him to go back where he belongs. There's no shame in God.
I love that you said
Other
that.
than what we did to him, you
Absolutely.
know, but
Yeah. Thank you.
he is not someone who's gonna shame you. You know.
Steve, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely wonderful session.
But I have a little something for you to do too. This is a little reminder. It's got 1 Peter 5:7 engraved. 1 Peter 5:7 engraved. He cares for you. The whole verse is cast all your cares upon him because he cares for you.
That's beautiful.
So it's just that reminder. You go 1 Peter 2:5.
Thank you. 1 Peter 5:7. Right?
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, just that reminder that whatever you're going through, lay him on. He'll carry it for you.
I feel like we've had service tonight.
Yeah, we had church, yes. All right, thank you, Steve, again. It was wonderful. And we will be here next Monday night. If we can be of service to you in the meantime, let me know. Thank you. Bless y'all.
Bless you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got hearts.
All right, hearts, yeah. Thanks, Catherine. Bye. Thanks, Krista. Bye, guys. Be well.
Release